I'm just here.
Welcome to another corner conversation. We're talking about James 3 today. I'm really bad at the intros, but
I didn't want to do it, so
fine. It's fine. So I think Greg and Rich are they're downtown because Kelsey was all by herself this morning.
That's tough.
And it's been crazy. The downtown shop has been busy. What were you gonna say?
Which is good. No,
It's so
it's
good.
new
It's so good.
new business struggles.
Yep.
Yeah.
It actually, yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely. So,
Yes.
Yeah. So
It's good.
It's good. It is really good. And it's been very busy, which is like
And it's cute.
awesome. And it's so cute, so pretty. And then yeah, we're just missing a couple people.
And Scott's gone because he's just
Yeah.
a little world traveler.
He's in Lithuania. Yep.
Cool guy.
I know. He is a cool guy.
That's fun.
I don't know what time it is. I know I got a text from Scott at 1:30 this morning.
Let me check, just because
Yeah.
since we're just doing intros. Oh, I guess my phone's broken. I'm just gonna check.
So,
Where is he?
He's in Lithuania.
Okay, world clock.
World clock.
What time is it here? Okay, so
it's 10 o'clock here.
10:09 a.m.
Yeah.
And we're gonna go to. Sorry, I don't know how to type either. I also don't know how to spell.
I know. He's helping with church planting in Lithuania and coffee shop stuff in Lithuania.
It is 6:10 in Lithuania.
AM.
So they're 8
PM.
PM. So
Yeah.
they're
Okay.
8 hours ahead.
Yeah.
Wow, happy Friday night.
Well, when he texted at 1:30,
That's funny.
I was glad that it didn't make a sound because
Which would have been 9 a.m. there. So
Yeah.
that's
Good.
actually pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Not
That's
6 a.m. there, which would have been weird.
That is Scott waiting. to
Yeah,
text you.
so
Yeah.
fair.
Because I feel like he would text at 5 here.
but that would have been like, I mean, it's 8-hour difference, so it would have been 5 then, right?
No.
You got a text at 1 a.m.
It would've
plus
been
8
5.
is 9.
It would have been 9 for him. He waited 4 hours to text you.
I'm
He
so
could've-
confused because it's 8 hours later.
Nope.
Yeah, so it's 1 o'clock here, so it's 9 o'clock there.
Right. So if he texted us at 1:30 a.m.,
It would have been 9:30 a.m.
that's
there.
only.
Yeah, that's 8 hours.
1:30.
I'm going.
Math.
You're going backwards.
I don't.
No, okay, so
This is
no,
what we
just
don't-
hold on.
Okay.
It's 10 a.m. here right now,
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's 6 p.m. there right now.
Mhm.
yeah.
So if it was 1 a.m. here right now, it would be minus 8 hours.
Plus.
Okay.
Plus.
You guys are doing 2 different directions. Okay.
It's plus. It's
Okay, so
ahead.
it's
Yeah.
9 a.m. there. Okay.
Yeah.
But he's probably up
He's-
at like 4 a.m. So he should have just texted us at 4.
Because it would have been a normal
been 8
night
p.m.
time
here.
last night. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, I can't add. I was really
No.
I was like, no, it's the other way. No, it's not.
No, world.
This old lady
Oh,
brain.
oh,
Can't do
world
it.
clocks.
World clocks. So
Anyway,
yeah. Anything exciting? What are you gonna say, Ty?
This is the quality content people tune in.
No,
they said, I wonder what
it
kinds
is.
of like clocks they're looking at
Yeah.
this week.
Okay, so I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about the 10 minutes at the beginning, how they had to do like this. They had to be
Oh, no, absolutely.
it was like the old school Kathy and Regis opening, like you
Yeah.
have to be stupid for 10 minutes. So I
Well-
think this is the quality content they're locking in for. They
That's what
want,
I'm here for. I
they
don't know.
want
Yeah.
the fun.
I mean,
Okay?
There's
I want the fun.
there's a podcast that I listen to that they casually swear, but they have a rule they can't casually swear in the first 5 minutes. Because
Oh,
that's like the demonetization zone. Like if you swear in the first 5 minutes,
okay,
then YouTube and like a lot of the other platforms, like you don't get paid for ad revenue.
got it.
Oh,
So they'll purposely like try
No
not to
swearing.
swear.
You think
for
we can
5
hit that
minutes
mark?
and-
That's.
you think we have 5 minutes yet?
I don't-
Are we in the clear?
Does that mean we're gonna start this?
I don't know. I just got
Wow.
nervous. I never know.
I'm a little nervous now. Like, what's gonna happen?
You guys shouldn't have invited me this
Oh,
morning.
man.
I'm a
No,
loose
I'm
cannon.
I'm glad you're here. This was good.
Oh, some of what we're talking about today.
I know, I was
Stuff
like,
ties
this
into
fits.
that, yeah.
I mean, this was an unintentional connection.
That's actually so
but
funny. But you
it
did
is
ask if anything
absolutely
exciting
about
is
that.
happening, so I'll
Okay.
share.
Let's hear the stories.
My only excitement is that I'm done with school for 2 weeks, for 2 whole weeks left.
Love it.
Which I learned. I'm sorry to everyone in my life.
Oh,
When
no.
I am a student, I'm a nightmare.
I
literally
literally
am
like
like-
nightmare.
Because I'm impatient and stressed out
Mhm.
and I'm not sleeping because you just don't.
There's no
And
time.
I literally am like, oh my gosh, I've been so pleasant to be around this week. That's so sad. I have like the last 9 months, and people are so patient with me, and for no good reason.
This
My
is your moment.
goodness.
No good reason.
So-
They love you. So this is your moment to like let everybody know I'm
So
aware
hey,
and I'm
Instagram
sorry.
followers, thanks for being so patient. I actually deleted Instagram because I was insufferable, and I was like, I gotta get out of here. So present time, I'm doing well for the next
I
2
love it.
weeks.
That's so good.
And then
it's back.
come June, sorry again. And I'll see you guys in
Very
August.
Kinney is returning. in
Literally.
June. Got it.
I didn't know that I was like this until right now when I like came out of the fog, and I was like, oh,
I love
I'm like
that
laughing
feeling.
again.
I feel like not school chaos, but I feel like I've
Oh.
had just chaos the last couple months. And what I'm realizing is like in that I get more impatient because I don't have time.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
I'm impatient because I have no time. And so Mike told me that I have become a kind of terrible driver, which is not wrong. I have become a terrible driver, so I've been but more conscientious the past few days.
Are you a verbal driver too?
I'm a verbal driver, but I'm also, since I'm impatient, like, what is happening?
Literally, no one knows what they're doing except for me.
And also, I'm not gonna wait. I am gonna go around you. I'm gonna pass.
And I make eye contact while I'm doing it, so
I
you
try
know
not
you're
to do
wrong.
that. I try not to.
I do
I
that.
mean, I feel those things, but I try to control it. And I feel like when there is this new thing, when people weren't going the speed limit on certain roads, I'd start saying the speed limit, but like. Not like
30,
not that like it's 55. I'm like it's 5-5 people. 5-5.
gosh.
So what were you saying, Ty?
We so fun.
I know.
I don't know why more people don't want to hang out
I
with us.
want to be my friends in my chaos. You're gonna say
Go ahead, Ty.
Tell us,
Tap
Ty.
in.
We need
It
to know.
doesn't help that Minnesota changes their speed limits every year.
No,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Minneapolis.
What's
like,
that about?
I get that we need to slow down, but it's 20
Ooh.
miles per hour.
I could
Like
run
on
faster than
streets.
that.
There's a lot of stats behind that. There's a book called Walkable Cities.
Oh yes, yeah, that's a good book.
And yes,
But
I
like,
just finished that one and
keep talking, but I have thoughts.
but 20
My
I'm
opinion.
pausing my thoughts, but I want to hear what you have to say.
across the board, 20 is like the safe limit for both like
Right.
pedestrians, cyclists, other forms
Yeah.
of transit. Like 20 is like that like sweet
Yeah.
spot. And it doesn't actually add time to commutes.
So here's the thing. This is what bothers me
Oh,
about
that's
it.
wild.
So I try to drive slow in neighborhoods. Like I'm
Sure.
intentional about it.
Mhm.
And like where the streets are wider and I feel like I can see
Yeah.
everything, I'm not as slow, but like neighborhoods I'm for sure slow. But what I've found personally is when they tell me the speed limit's 20, it feels like a joke.
Oh my
So-
goodness. Yeah.
So then I feel like there's actually no speed limit because it's so low.
Oh,
I mean,
so-
I don't go crazy. But like I feel
I
like
wish.
inside I'm like, no, like it makes me go, yes, you tell me it's 20, but that feels ridiculous right here. So then I'm like,
Well, there's
that's
a
how it
lot
feels.
there's a lot of truth behind that because you're talking about like when the roads feel wider and all that stuff,
Yeah.
drivers feel safer.
yeah,
And when drivers feel safer, they drive faster.
Yeah.
Right in front of Camden, the road.
right, where it's super wide.
Yeah, and it's actually something like a lot of the neighborhoods have
Right.
people have complained about is that the speed
Yeah.
limit's so high, but part of it is the road is, think that road in particular, each lane is 12 feet plus
Right.
plus street parking.
Yep.
So it actually ends up being closer to like
Yeah,
20 feet per lane when
Yeah.
when there's not a lot of parking.
yeah.
So people, when they have more room,
They
like
go faster.
highway lanes, and a typical highway lane is 14 feet wide.
Yeah,
And so
What the heck?
if your residential lane is 20 feet wide, because there's not a lot of cars parking on that street,
you feel like you can go.
you feel like you can go.
Yeah,
And those streets aren't super busy, so a lot of times you have
yeah.
Tough.
that beats
Well, and I
slower.
think what's hard with like Minneapolis, at least on the north side, like we don't have a lot of police officers that are regulating any of the speeds. So I could literally go 40. I'm not saying I do, but I could go 40 by a police officer where it's 20 and nothing's gonna happen.
Mhm.
So it
That's-
just feels like
Free
it does.
for all.
So like in my head, these are my like, I'm like, it's 20. There's nobody's gonna tell me no. And so like,
Ooh, I feel that a
right?
lot
Like,
of
I
the time
just
with
feel
a lot of things.
there's not consequences, so
I
it's
need
not great.
consequences. That is
I
something
need
I've
some
learned.
consequences. Yeah,
Which
I
don't
also
like, but
I realized, so like I was driving in Fridley and I wasn't speeding, but I didn't fully stop at a stop sign. and they didn't ticket me, but they did pull me over.
Ooh, scary.
And they were like, just let you know, like, you didn't really stop there, and like, we're trying to, be more serious about people stopping really well. And I told them, I go, I'm from the north side and we don't get in trouble for anything.
Sorry, we don't have rules.
I'm so sorry. I forgot that I have to fully stop. And then she was like,
so real.
I understand. And she didn't give me a ticket, but like,
Oh,
but now I am like, I'm definitely more mindful
Yeah.
that I have to fully stop.
Yes, ma'am.
So, yeah, I'm sorry. So it's okay. This
Anyways.
is a terrible transition, but like chapter 3, all of James is about action and like what like our actions say. Like last week we talked about just like faith with deeds. Like I wrote this verse and some of it says, it's James 2:1. It says, someone will say, you have faith, I have deeds, like kind of splitting the two. But then it says, show me your faith without deeds, and I will show you my faith by my deeds. So it's like very what is coming out of your faith in James. And like there's a lot of background that talks about James not being a very theological book and not like giving us this like these who Jesus is, but the idea is that James was written to people that already understood a lot of the theological things, but now it's like, how do we put that in action? How do we live out the Sermon on the Mount? How do we treat people with dignity and sacred? And how do we, like, even in speeding, like recognizing like I'm impacting other people when I drive too fast down this road. Like people don't feel safe. And like if it's all about me and it's all about how I feel, then why do we care? But like this whole faith piece is like, actually, you have to care about other people. And it's the worst. No, it's not the worst, but
something. Okay, so I was thinking about this because last week when we were talking about this, there was a question that was like, I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was something along the lines of like how your faith impacts your actions and things like that. And I was like, oh, and it said like what unhealthy things. And I was like, my faith for me started off very like fear-based, which like spurred me into action, which without that, I don't know how much I would have actually pursued those things of discipline. And because I was like, a lot of those had to get rewritten later on, but I was like, no, I think that like some of those negative connotations that I had actually were some of the things that helped me have that exposure of those of faith and of like those practices, which I wouldn't recommend to a lot of people, but I think that I think that's a reality for a lot of like newer believers too, of like, I don't really know. And so like, this isn't always coming out of like a super faithful, sincere heart. I'm just kind of trying things. And along that is like where you figure out those actions and those processes that help build perseverance and build your faith up. But I don't know that it's always out of like the most pure heart at the beginning of the faith, which is different with James, because again, he knows these people, so he's not just coming into this random group of like, I've heard you guys are all being like little problem children. He knows them and they know what the call is, so it's not like this super, I don't know, like this guy that's just kind of like disconnected from these people, like he knows them, so he does have a different place to speak these things. But
were you gonna say something, Ty? Oh, okay,
I heard you breathe.
You breathed. I thought you were like a sign that you had something to contribute.
You're not dead. You want to contribute?
Okay, well, okay, so you were saying, I think like in the first chapter of James, it talks a lot about, like not a lot, but quite a bit in the Sermon on the Mount too, and in James about becoming perfect. And like, which is like this really stressful idea, like people take that on as we're supposed to be perfect, but it's really like the word is really more about becoming, maturing, growing. It's not like this minute.
The tense of it doesn't really exist in the English language. Well, there's not really a good word for it's like for being perfected. It's like you can say you're going to the store, that's something that tells you like you're in transit. You're going to go to the store, you went to the store, but like there really isn't something for saying.
Yeah, like this long process of becoming something.
Yeah. And so, that continual process
That's
that we
really
talked
good.
early on. And, even though James is light on Christology and pneumatology, the study of Christ and then also the study of God's Spirit, the way he interacts, there's definitely this idea that permeates throughout, is that by interacting with the person of God, it's evidenced by you changing. And so that back and forth kind of relationship, where you interacting with the holy God, you become holy, and this is how you know.
Which I think is like so beautiful compared to what you were saying, like about the fear base. Cause I think like something Mike and I were talking about in like the beginning of James was like, it's through these imperfect moments and these frustrations and like imperfect times that we are perfected. But like, I think sometimes we come at it thinking we have to look perfect. We have to come to church and look perfect. And that feels very fear-based. Like, this isn't like it is so about what everybody thinks of me and who I appear to be and whether I have it figured out versus like interacting with a holy God and him changing me and like in life's imperfections and being who we are, being authentic and like saying this is really hard instead of pretending to be perfect and having it figured out. I think like that allows us to become perfected, because I was thinking like yesterday Kim and I were talking and I was frustrated about stuff and I looked at her and I was like, I would only tell you this, and it was true, because I was like, I know that if I tell somebody else the same frustrations, they're going to quickly tell me that I shouldn't feel that way or I should, I have to figure it out, which I do need to figure it out. But like, I would so much rather say to Kim, hey, I'm frustrated about this and this is true. I'm aware that it's not like my best self in this moment. And like, at least in admitting those things, I feel like it's an opportunity for me to grow versus like, if I come in and go, oh, it's fine, this isn't bothering me, everything's wonderful, blah, blah, blah. Like that pretend game, I feel like it just makes everything inside, like compact inside, and it doesn't feel like I'm actually growing, I don't know.
I think that's something, I feel like, sorry, I'm kind of getting a little off topic of James, but something with that too is, there's that thing in church that like you do have an expectation of how the morning is going to go, even if you know it's kind of like a different style. Ours is like a different format than a good amount of churches, but people still have an expectation of structure. And so it's that thing along with like perfectness of like, I don't want to like be like unauthentic. Why does that not feel like the right word? Unauthentic. Not authentic. Whatever. I never claimed to be a grammar police. Anyways, so it's that thing of like, I don't want people to pretend, but I do also have a little bit of that expectation that they're going to be prepared and have something like together to share with me when like with worship, with the message. You don't want chaos because you're like, I can't follow. I know how this goes. I know how a teaching is supposed to follow. And so
sometimes it feels like chaos.
And sometimes when you feel chaotic, you're like, I don't want to pretend, but I also know that like, I'm here to provide a service, to do a job, like to teach something, to help spread this message. And so I feel like I've had that conflict within myself of like, how do I be honest this morning while also kind of like being like, I'm not doing super great. I feel a little scattered, but I also don't want you guys to be disengaged because you're wanting to make sure that I'm okay. Like, well, and that's like, hard.
It is hard. And like, I think as women, like it is harder. Like, I mean, I don't want to say that, but it feels like one of the things we were talking about is this last week was like there are certain people that always seem to have it. They look like they have it together. And people want to follow people that look like they have it together. But if you, like look confident, look like they have it figured out. But when you come in authentic and honest and like, hey, like I want to like do our best, but I'm also going to admit to you that like, sometimes this is hard and sometimes I'm a mess and sometimes I don't have it figured out. It feels harder for people to see, to see that is good too.
Mhm.
And so I don't know. So I struggle with that too. And like Brene Brown is, I mean, she's not a church person. Well, she is a church person, but she's not like a church leader.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but like that is something I think she does really well, is be really authentic, but also people
Mhm.
want to follow that and want to say
Yeah.
that and want to like be a part of something that is real and honest.
Mhm.
And I don't know. So I feel like that's a
Yeah.
tough balance.
And I also wonder if that's why James is in a really unique position. He's
Right.
not just like, I don't know, I'm trying to like look at these scriptures,
I mean,
but it's not like
harsh sometimes.
he's harsh, but he's also like, he knows what he's talking about.
I mean,
Yeah.
and some of the struggle you're talking about is he's disassembling. Because
Mm.
he's talking about a community that seems to have it put together.
Right.
Yeah.
That knows
Yeah,
how to
right.
do the right things.
They know
does.
the right stuff.
When they get together, they're
Mm.
set up in such a way that
Yeah.
seems like it's functioning really well. You know, all the right people are being put in front, and and even you know,
That's
as
really
as
good.
we're in this chapter, you know, we're really diving into they even know how to say all the right things.
Yeah.
Or in this case, they don't have control over saying how they say their things, and
Yeah.
maybe and you know, there's this health and there's this balance that we as you know people who are pursuing truth, pursuing Christ, that of how do we say things that you know maintain that authenticity, that we're not fake,
Yeah.
but that we're not just you know uncontrolled and
Right.
Yes.
Crazy people.
well and just
Yeah.
you know uncontrolled with our words.
Yeah.
And
Well, and I think like, yeah, because I mean, just like what you were saying, even the basis of the book of James is it's written to people that already know who Jesus is.
Yeah.
Like they're people that already have that foundation. And so now we're like, what does it actually look like to live like this? Like, yes, we become perfect over time and we're supposed to mature and we grow, but like knowing how to say the right thing and pretend like that's missing the point. But like the root of these things, like it, in one of the spots we go back to where Jesus is on the Sermon on the Mount, and it's like the scripture says don't murder, but I also say like deal with your anger. And it's like this, it's like don't just say the right things, but deal with what's going on in your heart. Like what is causing these angry outbursts, or what is causing what's, you know, the speech that the things we say that aren't right, or what's going on deeper, I feel like. And I think it's like this, not having the fear base where we're going to pretend that everything is right inside, but letting those holy moments change us.
Yeah, and my background educationally is American Sign Language interpreters, are studying the importance of language and how it shapes our interaction in community and culture, and you know to an extent we talk about it's kind of it was started as like a joke amongst linguists, but this idea of Christianese has become this real thing that people are studying, and how Christianese, this like subsect language culture that allows you to basically identify like who's in and who's out. And but a lot of times like that language doesn't shape belief. It's really interesting. I was reading an article by I believe she's presenting her study, Lara Bordowski, and she did some study where in Aboriginal language groups, they have like their very cardinal direction is how they talk about space. And so instead of saying your left arm or your right arm, they would actually be like your north facing arm and your southwest leg. Like that's like how like, you're south by south, like that's how specific they are in the language. It's just the way their language is built. And so if you go into a room, if we were to even do this on Sunday, where we say, all right, everybody close your eyes and point north. Do you think everyone would end up pointing the same direction?
I am so,
if I knew where I was standing before I closed my eyes. Maybe.
Hold on,
but
let me think about this, because I'm trying to think of where I am right now, and I'm like, oh, I know ish where things are. Is that north?
That's north.
What?
See, already, you can't tell.
See, I'm like,
You can't tell from our cameras, but the thing is so
Like
part of
you're
this.
I don't know where I am.
Part of this study though was that in Western cultures you ask people to do this and basically they would point all sorts of different directions.
Oh,
But this Aboriginal group would always point the same direction.
Wow.
Because their language has built such an understanding of influence the world around them.
wow, yeah.
And so James really digs into this idea that something that seems so small really influences how we perceive the world around us and how others perceive us within the world.
Yeah.
And so I mean really powerful and part of it is, Christians have this really bad reputation of saying all the right things publicly.
Yeah.
And then privately, there's those news clips, the sound bites that of what Christians really think, what Christians really say.
Yeah.
And so many people are, hold a little bit of arm's length that, you're saying all the right things, but you're saying it because you want something.
Yeah.
You're, in your own personal life, you're just the same as me.
Yeah.
And
that was last week when we were talking about like favoritism, or maybe that was a couple weeks ago, but favoritism, and it's like, giving the good seats to the people that can benefit you, and feeling like just what you said, it's like I'm gonna act in a certain way around people that can benefit me, and then I'm gonna be my true self when I'm driving 55 and other people are driving 30. Sorry guys.
Sorry,
but something like in this scripture, like just with what we were talking about control and self-control, is it talks about like horses putting bits in their mouth to make them obey us, or ships being moved by a small rudder, and how our mouth is the same. What we say is the same. It says the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boasts. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. The tongue is a fire, a world of evil among the parts of the body. And I just think like we can be so quick to say things and to like hurt people and be harmful without even like, especially like if we're insecure, or if we're in an unsafe space, or feel unsafe, or feel angered, or somehow we've been hurt. Like I think we can be so quick to say something. And then it like right after that, it talks about if a fig tree has olives, like maybe it's not a fig tree at all. Like maybe like if you can praise with this mouth and then treat people like that at the same moment, maybe like who you think you are isn't fully who you are. And like I think there's a lot of places in the Bible where there's a lot of like going back to 1 John, where it's like we're still gonna screw up and Jesus forgives, and like Paul talks about doing what he doesn't do what he wants to do, and he wants to do this and he always doesn't. So there's a lot of moments where we go, okay, like this is actually pretty normal that in one moment we're doing what's right and the next moment we're like screwing it up. But I do think it's like recognizing, okay, like if I say I'm a fig tree, if I say I'm a follower of Christ, if I say I'm all of these things, but what the actions are, what comes out is something different, like looking inside and going, okay, like what actually is happening? Who am I really? Is this like the action and what you see? Is that really who I am? And like, I don't know, it feels kind of painful. Like James feels very aggressive sometimes. And like, especially when there's so many other moments in the Bible where we're like, well, yes, and like, yes, like this is the goal, and we're going to screw up. But I think that it is something to just like, okay, so who am I really? Like if this is what's coming out of my mouth, like just some self-reflection to go, okay, who am I really? Like, is this what I am? And then there's a moment at the end where it talks about wisdom, and just I think with everything James has talked about so far, like comes with not just like, I think there's this underlying maturity, like this is the goal, and like we're growing over time, like this isn't gonna be immediate, this isn't gonna grow. And then also like just having wisdom and what we say and how we treat people and how we consider people. And I really like this last verse of James 3. It says, the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure, then peace loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. Peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness. And I just think like in all the things we're talking about, all the action that we're talking about, how we're living it out, being, you know, like Scott keeps saying the real deal, which we're all like, okay, I don't know if I want to say the real deal, but you know, living it out and like this being like all of that, like there's this growth and wisdom over time.
Yeah.
It's just not immediate, which feels kind of hard.
I think that there's also that, part of the practice of it is you say something and then you learn, I shouldn't say that, or this is not, I think about this in like my relationship. There's things we do not joke about. Like this isn't like, even though it's very obviously a joke, we don't mess around with that. Like words actually, it's hard for us to, I don't know. I think it's hard for me, I guess, to understand the like real life impact jokes or words make. But I think of like a joke that I'm gonna say to you is probably not what I'm gonna say to my boss. Like one of those things of like, I wanna be conscious of that. Like we wanna be careful with our words and the way that we're, cause even a joke that I say to you today could not land well tomorrow. Like, that. And so just thinking of like, okay, how do I, no, I think that is just, that goes down to like what we are, like what we close with is like, how does that like, us being peace loving, considerate, full of mercy, how does that impact the way that we speak to one another? Of like, how can I be friendly and goofy with you without being like riding that line? Because I don't want to just have that be the standard of like it worked today but tomorrow won't. Like that's not a healthy like successful like conversation piece to have. Like, and so just thinking of that of like, I don't want it to just work today. It needs to be like like you were talking about earlier, continual progress of like accomplishing something in the long run. I think.
Well, and like when I am complaining to you about something, how do we like hear each other and like say, okay, sometimes there's moments where like you really are just, you need a vent and you need to get, but there are also moments where it's like a growth opportunity. And it's like, I don't want it to be like, I complain to you. And so we just let each other not become more Christ-like over time. At the same time, I want both of us to feel comfortable. Like, I don't want to become the person that like, you're not allowed to complain to because every time you complain to me, or you're not even complaining, but like going through something and processing, like I shut you down.
Like,
I don't want to do that, but I also want us to spur each other on in growth, you know? So what were you gonna say, Si? Do you have a riches breath?
Another breath.
I was breathing.
Another breath.
It seemed like your breath is like, and let me.
Because I do that too, and I'm like,
maybe that's what it is. I'm looking.
It's our subconscious insertion of like,
looking for cues. Like, okay,
women insert themselves.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Do you have a riches wrap up? I mean, we don't have Rich here.
Rich's wrap up.
He always wraps up at the end. He has a little nugget.
He does.
Yeah, well, that's his thing because he listens really well through the whole thing, and then he just has a little.
And we just yap.
Yeah,
we're just yappers.
Which my daughter is like, Witcher yap. Like she's using yapping. Apparently, it's a new thing.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
Because I'm someone who wears many hats. I've done coaching over the last 9 years of my life.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because within sports, it's very common to do drills, which is like you're doing one small thing. You know, you're sitting at the free front line and you're doing free throws. You do 100 of them. You're doing one small thing. It's not like the whole game. You're not practicing the whole game. And it's really interesting, like because I transitioned from acrobatics and dance into esports, and within esports, because it's such a new competitive way. They just want to play the game. Like they want to do the whole game, and they just think they're going to get better that way. That's shown by research. It's the slowest way to get better is to do everything all at once. But as humans, skill development, we do, you know, when you learn to walk, you do little by little, and like it's crazy how that all builds up to being able then to climb stairs and
Yeah.
like everything just builds on each other. And I think that this is really we're talking about this as being, last week we're talking about being authentic in our faith, that our religion being shown through our actions, our faith, our belief in Christ being shown through our actions. I feel like this is almost James in acting like a coach saying, all right, here's the next drill, here's the next thing, here's the next, free point, you're gonna practice these free throws, the free throws is your mouth. Can we talk about behaviors, let's break this down, your mouth is in control, let's work on that. And I really think that's like the encouragement, it's like, this is all skill development. In following Christ, it's not, you don't become the Minnesota Timberwolves in 2024 by not also being the Timberwolves in 2017 and 2019 and 2022 and even the last year's season 2023, so
that's really,
little by little it builds.
for us Minnesotans, that feels right.
For some Minnesotans.
Oh,
I don't understand. I'm out of
it's
sports.
It's Ty's moment.
I
We're
know.
listening to
Let's go,
right
Ty.
now.
I just think that's like some of the power of James is here he takes these big ideas and then he goes, here's the drill, here's the practice, and I think that's the encouragement for us. It's like, doesn't have to feel big, doesn't have to feel overwhelming. That progress forward can be something small that you work at little by little.
I like it.
That was a good Ty wrap up.
That was a good tie wrap.
Ooh.
Sorry, Rich, we don't need it anymore.
We've got more.
All right, well, okay, so we're all meeting at different locations this Sunday, different communities. Kim is speaking in North Loop on Sunday.
Yeah.
And Ty is over at Camden on
Where are
Sunday.
you gonna be, Miss Girl?
I'm going to a cabin on a lake, and there's a pontoon there, and I'm real excited.
Pontoon girl.
I mean, it's not warm, but I will be putting on a sweater and don't care. I just wanna be on the water.
That's something
really
nice.
like it.
Sweater short season
Mhm.
is the best. You get to be comfy, cozy, but also
I
like
know.
springy.
You're not wrong. So
Yes.
I hope to see some of you. Well, I'm not gonna see anybody,
Yeah.
but they hope to see some of you at church on
Coming
Sunday.
out and listening
Coming
to
out.
yeah.
Coming out and listen to Kim,
It'll be good.
She's not yapping the whole time. That's the whole point, is that you're not yapping.
Good yeah. It's okay.
Okay,
It's
all
good
right,
yeah.
we're gonna end now. It was really good. Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.